Commander Jack Reed stared at the alien transmission displayed on the main screen of the ISS Harbinger. It was the fourth such message they'd received in as many days. The translation matrix had finally decoded it, and what it revealed sent a cold chill down his spine. "They're demanding our unconditional surrender," said Lisa, the ship's linguist. Her voice remained steady, but her eyes betrayed her concern. "They've given us 48 Earth hours to comply." The Galactic Conclave had first made contact with humanity 6 months ago. Initial communications had been diplomatic, even friendly. The aliens, calling themselves the Order, had expressed interest in bringing humanity into their interstellar community. Humans had been cautiously optimistic, eager to join the cosmic neighborhood. That had changed 3 weeks ago. "What prompted this?" Admiral Thompson asked during the emergency video conference with Earth Command. His weathered face looked even more lined than usual on the holographic display. "Our refusal to accept their protection," Jack replied. "They demanded we submit to becoming a protectorate, complete with resource quotas and limited technological development. When our ambassadors declined, they withdrew from talks." Defense Minister Ward nodded grimly. "Their scans must have determined we're significantly behind their technological curve. Classic colonial pattern. They see us as primitives to be subjugated." The Order's ships had appeared in Earth's orbit shortly afterward, massive vessels that dwarfed humanity's most impressive space stations. Their technology was centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. Scanners showed weapon systems of incomprehensible power aimed directly at major population centers. "Do we have any options?" asked President Ellis, her voice tight with the weight of billions of lives resting on her decision. General Moore cleared his throat. "Project Prometheus, Madam President." A heavy silence fell over the conference. Project Prometheus, humanity's ace in the hole. Born from the theoretical physics breakthrough of 2098, it represented mankind's most closely guarded secret. While human spaceships still used conventional propulsion, a small team had been quietly developing something revolutionary. "It's untested in field conditions," cautioned Dr. Emily Wright, the project's lead scientist. "But the simulations are promising." "And if it works?" asked the president. "Then we show the Order exactly why threatening humans is a bad idea," replied Jack, his jaw set with determination. "We've spent our entire history fighting against overwhelming odds. It's practically our species' hobby." Admiral Thompson's lips curved into a humorless smile. "Throughout our history, would-be conquerors have consistently made the same miscalculation. They mistake our relative technological inferiority for weakness." The president took a deep breath. "Begin preparations. If the Order won't accept our peaceful coexistence, we'll have to demonstrate why humans should be approached with respect, not contempt." On the Harbinger, Jack watched the massive alien ships through the observation deck. They hung in space like predators, confident in their superiority. He thought about Earth's history, how often the presumed weaker side had prevailed through ingenuity, determination, and the unique human capacity for creative problem-solving under pressure. "They have no idea what they're dealing with," Lisa said, coming to stand beside him. Jack nodded. "That's always been humanity's advantage. Everyone underestimates us until it's too late." The message they sent back to the Order was brief. "We decline your offer. We seek peace but are prepared for alternatives. Please don't make us mad." The Order's response was immediate and dismissive. "Primitive species have no place making demands. Submit or face extinction." Operation Prometheus was green-lit 12 hours later. As Jack prepared his crew for what would come next, he couldn't help but think that the Order was about to learn a lesson that should have been obvious to any species studying human history. Cornering humans was never a good idea. When threatened, humanity didn't cower. It innovated, adapted, and overcame. The universe was about to receive a harsh education in why you should never push humans too far. Dr. Emily Wright's fingers danced across the control station as she made final adjustments to the Prometheus array. Around her, the underground facility hummed with nervous energy as engineers and scientists prepared for humanity's first, and possibly last, stand against the Order. "Power levels optimal," reported her assistant Tom. quantum field stabilizers functioning within parameters. Emily nodded, her focus absolute. Project Prometheus had been theoretical until 18 months ago, a revolutionary approach to manipulating the fabric of spacetime itself. It wasn't a weapon in the conventional sense, rather, it was a means to level a playing field that had seemed hopelessly tilted against humanity. "We're receiving reports that the order ships are changing position," announced Colonel Barnes, the military liaison. "They're moving into attack formation." On screens throughout the facility, satellite imagery showed the massive alien vessels, shifting like wolves circling their prey. Their deadline for Earth surrender would expire in less than 3 hours. "Prometheus units report ready status," said General Moore over the secure channel. All 12 installations confirm green across the board. President Ellis's voice came through clear and resolute. "Dr. Wright, you have authorization to proceed." Emily took a deep breath. Initiating Prometheus protocol. Across the globe, in hidden facilities buried deep beneath mountains, deserts, and oceans, identical teams activated their arrays simultaneously. What made Prometheus revolutionary wasn't just its technology, but its distributed nature, impossible to neutralize with a single strike. The principle was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to match the Order's superior weaponry, Prometheus would alter the rules of engagement entirely. In space, Commander Jack Reed and the crew of the Harbinger waited at the designated safe distance. They would witness humanity's response firsthand. "Energy signatures from Earth are spiking dramatically," reported the science officer. "The Order vessels are detecting it. They're powering weapons systems." Jack gripped his armrest tightly. This is it. The Order had expected surrender or perhaps a futile conventional attack. What they got instead was something entirely different. 12 points on Earth's surface suddenly emitted brilliant blue-white energy beams straight into space. But instead of striking the alien ships, the beams converged in empty space before the Order's fleet. "Space-time distortion forming," announced the science officer, voice filled with awe. "It's working." Before the Order could react, the fabric of space itself began to warp where the energy beams converged. A swirling vortex formed, a controlled, gravitational anomaly tearing open a hole in conventional space. The alien ships immediately tried to retreat, engines flaring as they attempted to escape what they now recognized as a threat. But the Prometheus field expanded faster than they could move, enveloping the first line of their fleet. "My God," whispered Jack, as he watched the Order's mighty warships contort and stretch as they were caught in the field's edge. Not destroyed, but twisted. Their internal systems warped by the localized changes in physical constants. The aliens' response was immediate and predictable. They opened fire on Earth. But their weapons, designed to function under normal space-time conditions, behaved erratically when passing through the Prometheus field. Energy beams bent in impossible angles. Missiles followed twisted trajectories, and much of their firepower dissipated harmlessly. "They're trying to recalibrate," Lisa noted, watching the alien ship struggle. Jack nodded grimly. Too late for that. The Prometheus field wasn't just defensive. It was humanity's first true offensive capability against an advanced species. Ships caught fully within the field found themselves in a localized pocket where certain physical laws were subtly altered. Their sophisticated technology, calibrated for normal space, malfunctioned catastrophically. Within 30 minutes, a third of the Order's fleet was effectively neutralized, not destroyed, but crippled and disoriented. The remaining ships pulled back to a safe distance, clearly reassessing the situation. "They're hailing us," announced the communications officer. Jack straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The alien commander that appeared on screen looked nothing like the arrogant entity who had demanded Earth's surrender. Its body language, even across species barriers, conveyed shock and confusion. "How?" it demanded simply. "Your species possesses no such technology." Jack allowed himself a small smile. "You should have done more research on human history before threatening us. We're particularly creative when backed into a corner." Admiral Vex of the Order stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 1/3 of his fleet, the pride of the Order's military might, hung disabled in space, caught in some kind of localized reality distortion that his science division couldn't explain. Another third had sustained significant damage attempting to penetrate the effect. Impossible, he muttered. They're a primitive species, barely a century into space travel. Evidently not as primitive as our intelligence suggested, replied his second-in-command. The humans have manipulated fundamental forces in ways our scientists thought theoretically impossible. The human's warning echoed in his mind. Please don't make us mad. He'd dismissed it as the empty bravado of a species about to be conquered. The order had subjugated dozens of worlds. The process was always the same. Show overwhelming force, demand surrender, establish control. Resistance was typically brief and futile, but humans had not followed the script. Across the galaxy, news of the confrontation spread rapidly. The Conclave Council convened an emergency session as reports filtered in. The Order, one of the most powerful military forces in known space, had been checked by a species thought to be in its technological infancy. Counselor Mara of the Alarian Federation leaned forward. These reports can't be accurate. Humans don't have the scientific foundation for such technology. The evidence suggests otherwise, replied Counselor Thorne of the Sylvan Collective. We've all made a grave miscalculation regarding Earth. In NEAT, a hidden observation post at the edge of the solar system, representatives from various galactic powers watched events unfold with growing alarm. Earth had been classified as a potential resource world, valuable but defenseless. That assessment was being rapidly revised. We must contact them directly, decided Envoy Lark of the Starfall Alliance. If humans possess the ability to manipulate space-time itself, they're far more dangerous and valuable than anyone realized. Back on Earth, humanity's leaders gathered to discuss their next move. The Prometheus defense had worked better than anticipated, but it wouldn't hold forever. The system required enormous energy and could only operate for limited periods. We've surprised them, said President Ellis. But the Order still outguns us conventionally. We need to press our advantage while we have it. General Moore nodded. The Order doesn't know our limitations. As far as they're concerned, we could have more tricks up our sleeve. And do we? Asked the French president. Dr. Wright hesitated. Project Hephaestus is still in development, but with what we've learned from Prometheus. In space, Commander Jack Reed was summoned to an urgent meeting. His ship would host the first direct negotiations between humanity and the Order. They're sending their second voice, Lisa informed him, referring to the Order's diplomatic hierarchy. That's significant. Typically, they'd only send a fourth or fifth voice to a species at our development stage. Nothing about this situation is typical anymore, Jack replied. We've changed the equation. When the Order's shuttle docked with the Harbinger, the tension was palpable. The alien diplomats moved cautiously, their body language betraying their unease. They were accustomed to negotiating from absolute positions of strength. This was uncharted territory. My government wishes to discuss terms for mutual disengagement, began the second voice, a tall, imposing figure whose translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. We recognize that certain misunderstandings have occurred. Jack kept his expression neutral. Misunderstandings? You threatened to exterminate our species if we didn't surrender our planet and resources. A standard diplomatic protocol, replied the alien smoothly. One that has proven efficient with emerging species. Perhaps you should reconsider your protocols, Jack suggested. Humans respond poorly to threats. As they spoke elsewhere in the galaxy, secret meetings were taking place. Species that had chafed under the Order's dominance saw opportunity in humanity's unexpected resistance. Alliance structures that had stood for centuries suddenly seemed less stable. The Order's aura of invincibility is cracked, observed an Arcadian diplomat. If humans could resist them, then perhaps others could too, finished his Meridian counterpart. The galaxy's balance of power just shifted. On a dozen worlds, military analysts pored over the limited data available from the Earth conflict, searching for insights into the humans' surprising capabilities. Intelligence agencies scrambled to establish covert contact with Earth. Technology brokers calculated the potential value of human innovations. The ripples of humanity's defiance spread outward, touching distant stars and ancient civilizations. A species that had been dismissed as an insignificant newcomer had just announced its presence on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. And the universe was listening. The diplomatic shuttle Olive Branch glided through the darkness of space, carrying Earth's first official delegation to the Galactic Conclave. Inside, Ambassador Mark Davis reviewed his notes one final time. After the standoff with the Order, humanity had received a formal invitation to present its case before the assembled representatives of the major galactic powers. Nervous? Asked Dr. Emily Wright, who had been included for her scientific expertise. Mark smiled thinly. We're about to address an assembly of species who collectively have millions of years of civilization behind them. Some anxiety seems appropriate. 3 months had passed since the Order's attempted subjugation of Earth. The aftermath had been a whirlwind of diplomatic initiatives, covert approaches from various alien factions, and intense debate among Earth's nations about how to proceed. Remember, said General Moore, who headed the military contingent, most of these species still think of us as primitives who got lucky with a single advanced technology. We need to disabuse them of that notion without revealing too much. The shuttle approached the massive space station that housed the conclave. They got their first real glimpse of galactic society. Hundreds of vessels of various designs orbited the station, a dizzying array of technologies and architectures that highlighted humanity's relative youth among the stars. Look at that one, whispered Tom, pointing to a ship that seemed to be made of living crystal. How do you even build something like that? We'll figure it out, Emily replied confidently. That's what humans do. The reception at the docking bay was formal, but tense. Representatives from various species watched, the humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. The Order's delegation stood apart, their posture rigid. The humans were escorted to waiting chambers while final preparations were made for their appearance before the conclave. There, they encountered their first surprise, a small delegation from a species called the Ventari. We have been watching your kind with great interest, said their leader, introducing himself as Observer Trell. Few species develop reality warping technology before achieving routine interstellar travel. Mark exchanged glances with Emily. We had strong motivation. Indeed. Trell's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. The Order's tactics were typical. Their mistake was in not studying your species more carefully before attempting subjugation. What do you mean? Asked General Moore. Most species follow predictable development patterns, replied Trell. But our preliminary analysis suggests humans are unique in several respects. Your adaptability index is off our charts. Your capacity for technological innovation under pressure is unmatched in our records. And your species exhibits an unusual paradox, extreme cooperation coupled with extreme competitiveness. Before they could explore this further, they were summoned to the conclave chamber. The vast hall contained representatives from over 200 spacefaring civilizations arranged in concentric rings according to some hierarchy. The humans didn't yet understand. The delegation from Earth may approach and present their case, announced the chief arbiter, a being of shifting luminous gas contained within a transparent shell. Mark stepped forward. For all his diplomatic experience, nothing had prepared him for addressing such an assembly. He decided to abandon his prepared statement and speak from the heart. Distinguished representatives, he began, humanity comes before you not as supplicants but as equals. We are young in the stars, yes. There is much we have to learn, but we have demonstrated that we will not surrender our sovereignty or our future to threats or intimidation. A murmur ran through the assembly. The Order's actions against Earth violated the very principles this conclave claims to uphold. Mark continued. Yet we understand from our subsequent research that such actions are not uncommon against emerging species. This suggests a fundamental problem with how this community of worlds operates. The Order's representative rose to object, but the chief arbiter silenced them with a gesture. Humanity does not seek conflict, Mark emphasized. We desire peaceful exchange of knowledge, culture, and commerce. But let me be absolutely clear. Any species that threatens Earth will face consequences. We prefer friendship, but we are prepared for alternatives. As he spoke, screens around the chamber displayed images from human history, the building of the pyramids, the moon landing, great works of art and architecture, but also scenes of warfare and resilience in the face of adversity. This is who we are, Mark concluded. We create, we build, we dream. And when threatened, we fight with everything we have. The Order learned this lesson the hard way. We hope others will choose a different path of engagement with humanity. The silence that followed was profound. Then, one by one, representatives began to signal their desire to speak. The galaxy had questions about its newest active member, and humanity was ready to answer. 6 months after humanity's introduction to the Galactic Conclave, the diplomatic mission on Conclave Station had grown into a bustling embassy. Humans had proven to be popular addition to the interstellar community, their art, music, and cuisine, generating particular interest among many species. But beneath the surface of this apparent acceptance, currents of concern and conspiracy flowed. James Miller, head of embassy security, studied the latest intelligence report with a deepening frown. "That's the third covert technology sampling attempt this month," he told Ambassador Davis in the privacy of the secure conference room. "Which species this time?" asked Mark. "The Krell Imperium," James replied. "Their operative attempted to obtain biological samples from our waste recycling system." Mark sighed. "Add them to the list. That makes 7 confirmed attempts from 5 different species." The diplomatic success following the Order incident had masked a troubling reality. Many galactic powers were desperate to understand how humans had developed the Prometheus technology. Some sought alliance, others aimed to steal the secrets, and a few harbored darker intentions. "There's something else," James added. "We've intercepted communications suggesting a coalition is forming, species concerned about the human problem." "The human problem," echoed Dr. Wright, who had joined the permanent embassy staff. "Apparently, some consider our unconventional development path to be destabilizing," James explained. "They're calling us an evolutionary anomaly that needs to be contained." On Earth, similar concerns were mounting. Intelligence agencies had detected increased surveillance of the planet by unidentified vessels. Attempts to hack Earth's networks had grown sophisticated, bearing hallmarks of advanced alien technology. In a secure underground facility, General Moore briefed the Defense Council on Project Hephaestus, the military application of the principles behind Prometheus. "The prototype performed beyond expectations in the Jupiter test," he reported. "We can now project a localized field that not only disrupts space-time, but can be targeted with precision. In theory, we could disable a specific ship without affecting those around it." "And if we needed to target multiple ships?" asked the Russian defense minister. "Then God help whoever is on the receiving end," replied Moore grimly. Meanwhile, in the shadowy corridors of galactic politics, an unprecedented meeting was taking place. Representatives from the Order, the Krell Imperium, and 3 other major powers met in secret on a nameless moon in neutral space. "The humans must be contained, now before they develop further," insisted the Order's emissary. "Our studies indicate their technology is still limited in scope. A coordinated action could neutralize them before they become a greater threat." "Your previous attempt went so well," noted the Krell representative sarcastically. "What makes you think a combined effort would fare better?" "Because we now understand what we're facing," replied the Order emissary. "Humans appear to have an extraordinary capacity for what they call lateral thinking, approaching problems from unexpected angles. They develop unevenly, making technological leaps in specific areas while remaining primitive in others. This makes them unpredictable," added the Vex hegemony's representative, "and potentially dangerous to the established order." Back on Earth, Lisa, now serving as the chief xenolinguist for Earth Command, made a breakthrough in decoding a set of encrypted transmissions. "They're planning something," she told Jack Reed, recently promoted to admiral. Multiple species coordinating ship movements toward our sector. The translation is fragmentary, but I keep seeing references to security measures and preemptive action. Jack's expression hardened. How long do we have? Based on the projected movements? 2 weeks, maybe less. President Ellis received the news with grim resolve. Alert our forces, activate the Prometheus network and inform our embassy at the conclave. But no provocative moves. We need to be certain. As tensions mounted, an unexpected development occurred. A small ship entered Earth's space, broadcasting on all frequencies in perfect English. We come with warning and offer of assistance. Your enemies gather. The vessel belonged to the Ventari, the same species that had approached the human delegation. At the conclave, observer Trell met with Earth's leadership, his multiple eyes solemn. A coalition of powers plans to quarantine your system and force limitations on your development. They fear what you might become. Based on what? Demanded President Ellis. We've honored every treaty, followed every regulation since joining the conclave. Based on what you are, replied Trell. Humans develop differently than most species. You innovate fastest when threatened. You cooperate most effectively in crisis. These traits make you unpredictable in ways that discomfort. Ancient powers accustomed to stability and control. And you? Asked Jack. Why warn us? Trell's skin shifted colors thoughtfully. My species believes in diversity of evolution. We see in humanity a fascinating new path, one that could enrich the galaxy, not threaten it. But more practically, we have our own concerns about the growing influence of the Order and its allies. As Trell shared details of the Coalition's plans in deep space, a fleet was indeed gathering, the opening moves of a game that would determine humanity's place among the stars. The warning that had once been directed at the Order now applied to a much broader audience. Please don't make us mad. A warning that the universe was once again choosing to ignore. The first sign of the coming storm was subtle, a shift in commercial shipping routes away from Earth's sector. Then came the diplomatic excuses, scheduled visits postponed, trade negotiations delayed for administrative reasons. Within days, Earth's representatives at the conclave found themselves increasingly isolated. They're clearing the board, Admiral Jack Reed told the Emergency Security Council meeting, moving their pieces into position while extracting any players they don't want caught in the crossfire. On the main display, satellite imagery showed the unmistakable evidence, a blockade forming at the edge of the solar system. Ships from at least 7 different species, positioned to cut Earth off from the rest of the galaxy. They haven't made any demands yet, noted President Ellis. Why? Because they're not finished deploying, replied General Moore. Our intelligence suggests they're bringing in specialized equipment, planet-scale suppression technology. Dr. Wright's analysis backed this assessment. Based on the energy signatures we're detecting, they appear to have developed some kind of solar system-wide containment field. They could potentially cut us off from using our own Prometheus technology. The Ventari ambassador, now officially recognized by Earth, offered additional insight. This coalition believes they can force your species to accept limitations on your development without resorting to direct military action. They see it as a civilizing measure, not an act of war. Civilizing? President Ellis's voice was cold. They want to turn our entire system into a prison because they're afraid of what we might become? Essentially, yes, confirmed the Ventari. They will present it as a security measure necessary for galactic stability. Jack's expression darkened. They have no idea what they're about to unleash, do they? Throughout human history, nothing had united the fractious species quite like an external threat. Ancient enemies set aside differences. Resources were pooled. Innovation accelerated. The response to the Order had been impressive. The reaction to this new threat was unprecedented. Project Hephaestus moved from testing to full deployment in days rather than the planned months. The distributed network of Prometheus facilities expanded, with new installations hidden throughout the solar system. And Operation Wildfire, a contingency plan that had been theoretical, began active preparation. We can't match them ship for year. Ship, acknowledged Admiral Reed during the final strategy session. But we don't have to. We just need to make the cost of this action so high that they'll reconsider. The Coalition's demands finally came 3 days later. Earth would dismantle all Prometheus technology, accept limitations on future development, and submit to oversight by a guidance council composed of representatives from the Coalition species. Earth's response was delivered by Ambassador Davis before the full galactic conclave. Humanity rejects these demands in their entirety. The proposed restrictions violate the Conclave Charter's provisions on species sovereignty. We call on the Conclave to censure this illegal blockade immediately. The Coalition spokesperson, a tall being from a species called the Dorvis Ascendancy, responded dismissively. Earth's situation is unique and requires special measures. The technologies they have demonstrated represent a potential threat to galactic stability. So this is about Prometheus, Mark stated flatly. This is about ensuring predictable, managed development of emerging species, countered the Dorvis representative. Your kind moves too quickly, too unpredictably. The Coalition is simply establishing necessary guardrails. Throughout the chamber, representatives watched the exchange with varying reactions. Some species clearly supported the Coalition. Others seemed uncomfortable but unwilling to intervene. A few showed signs of sympathy for Earth's position. Let me be absolutely clear, Mark said, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. Any attempt to impose these restrictions on our sovereignty will be met with all necessary force. We sought peaceful relations, but we will not surrender our right to determine our own destiny. Your species has no choice, replied the Dorvis, coldly. The containment field will activate in 12 standard hours. Once established, your Prometheus technology will be neutralized. Resistance would be pointless and wasteful. As the diplomatic confrontation unfolded, Admiral Reed gave the order. Initiate Operation Wildfire. Throughout the solar system, the hidden Hephaestus installations activated simultaneously. But instead of targeting the blockading fleet directly, they created a series of precisely calibrated space-time distortions at seemingly random points. What are they doing? Demanded the order's fleet commander as his sensors detected the energy signatures. Their pattern makes no tactical sense. It made no sense because the Coalition's intelligence had fundamentally misunderstood the nature of human innovation. They had prepared to counter Prometheus as they understood it, not what it had evolved into during the months of preparation. The apparently random distortions suddenly linked, creating a network of interconnected spatial anomalies, a web of altered reality that expanded outward from the solar system at impossible speed. Before the Coalition fleet could react, the web enveloped them. Their containment field technology, designed to isolate Earth, found itself instead containing the Coalition fleet, caught in a bubble of altered physics where their FTL communications no longer functioned and their engines operated at drastically reduced efficiency. We can hold them like this for approximately 72 hours, Dr. Wright informed Earth's leaders. After that, the energy requirements become unsustainable. President Ellis nodded grimly. That should be enough time to make our point. The bubble of distorted space, the Coalition fleet commanders received Earth's message. You sought to cage us. Now you understand what that feels like. We will release you when we have guarantees of our continued freedom. The alternative is escalation. And as you're learning, humans excel at escalation. The breaking point had been reached. Humanity had demonstrated not just the will to resist, but capabilities beyond what the Coalition had believed possible. The question now was whether the galaxy would choose the path of confrontation or recognition that a new power had irrevocably emerged among the stars. The Grand Arbiter of the Conclave called for order as the emergency session descended into chaos. Representatives from 200 species argued vehemently, some demanding immediate action against Earth, others counseling caution, and a growing faction suggesting that the Coalition's attempted containment had been ill-conceived from the start. The humans have taken an entire multi-species fleet hostage, thundered the Dorvis representative. This proves exactly why they cannot be allowed unfettered development. Your Coalition attempted to imprison an entire species without conclave authorization, countered the Ventari speaker. The humans merely responded to aggression with a proportionate defensive measure. On the view screens surrounding the chamber, the situation was displayed in real time. The coalition fleet suspended in a bubble of distorted space-time, unable to advance or retreat, while Earth's smaller defense fleet maintained position just outside the effect's boundary. The Arcturian delegate from one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations rose to speak. When an Arcturian addressed the conclave, even the most agitated representatives fell silent out of respect. "We have witnessed something unprecedented," the ancient being stated, its voice resonating with harmonic undertones. "In all our records, spanning over 30,000 years, no species has developed the ability to manipulate fundamental forces so early in their technological evolution. This suggests we are dealing with something new." Ambassador Mark Davis listened carefully. The Arcturians rarely involved themselves in disputes among younger species. Their intervention signaled that the confrontation had implications beyond immediate politics. "The coalition sought to contain what it feared," continued the Arcturian. "But in doing so, it has revealed precisely why such fear is misplaced. Humans have demonstrated not only advanced capability, but remarkable restraint. They could have destroyed the coalition fleet. Instead, they chose temporary containment. In the distortion field, Admiral Jack Reed coordinated Earth's position from the flagship Defiance. Monitoring systems showed the coalition vessels attempting various countermeasures against the Hephaestus field, all unsuccessful. "They're requesting direct communication," reported his communications officer. Jack straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Supreme Commander Krell, the coalition's military leader. His expression was a mixture of anger and grudging respect. "Your point has been made, Admiral," he stated flatly. "What are your terms?" "Simple," replied Jack. "The coalition fleet will withdraw beyond the Kuiper Belt. The Conclave will establish an observational post at the edge of our system, staffed by neutral species, to ensure all parties honor their commitments. Earth will be recognized as a full sovereign member of the galactic community, with all the rights thereof." "And if we refuse?" Jack's expression remained neutral. "Then we'll be forced to demonstrate capabilities beyond what you've seen thus far. I don't recommend that path." Back at the conclave, the debate had shifted. The Arcturian proposal, to recognize Earth's unique status and establish protocols for interaction that respected human sovereignty while providing reassurance to concerned species, was gaining support. "We have been short-sighted," admitted the representative from the Sylvan Collective. "Our assessment protocols are designed for conventional evolutionary paths. Humans follow a different trajectory, one our models failed to account for." The Order's representative, whose species had first experienced humanity's unexpected capabilities, spoke with unexpected candor. "We misunderstood humans from the beginning. They are not simply an emerging species with a single advanced technology. They are a species that transforms itself through crisis, each challenge making them stronger." As negotiations progressed, Earth gradually relaxed the Hephaestus field, allowing coalition vessels to withdraw in staged groups. With each successful withdrawal, tension decreased and dialogue improved. President Ellis addressed the people of Earth as the crisis de-escalated. "Today marks a turning point in human history. We have demonstrated that humanity cannot be intimidated or controlled. More importantly, we've shown that we can defend ourselves without resorting to the kind of destruction our history has sometimes witnessed." Within 2 weeks, a formal agreement was reached. Earth would retain its technological independence while agreeing to transparency measures regarding deployments of space-time-altering technologies. A conclave observation post would be established at Neptune's orbit, staffed by representatives from neutral species. Most significantly, humanity was invited to join the conclave's science directorate, a rare honor for such a young species, acknowledging their unique contributions to understanding fundamental forces. As the crisis resolved, Admiral Reed and Dr. Wright stood on the observation deck of the Defiance, watching coalition ships departing the solar system. "Do you think they've really learned their lesson?" asked Emily. Jack considered this. "Some have. Others will need more convincing, but they all understand one thing now that they didn't before. What's that? That underestimating humanity is a mistake they can't afford to make twice. Jack smiled slightly. We've earned something more valuable than any technology. Respect. On distant worlds, the incident became known as the Terran demonstration, a watershed moment in galactic history when a young species announced its presence not through conquest or subjugation, but through an insistence on its right to self-determination. In educational institutions across the galaxy, new courses appeared analyzing human history, psychology, and development patterns. The phrase, the human factor, entered diplomatic lexicons, referring to unexpected solutions to seemingly insurmountable problems. And throughout the stars, a simple warning gained universal recognition. A phrase entered into contact protocols for all ships approaching Earth. Please don't make us mad. A warning the universe would not forget again.